Hey everyone, welcome to the Deep Focus Show. I'm Aidan.
I'm Clayton.
I'm Taavi.
And today, welcome to the show. Normally we go through a director's filmography and rate and rank all of the films, but I have a feeling today the episode will be a little bit different because our director only has one film. It's Charles Laughton. I mentioned him in our very first episode of our top 5 directors, and today we'll talk about his single film, The Night of the Hunter. So let's get into it.
Cool. I guess I can get started. Charles Laughton, my familiarity. I really haven't seen anything much except Spartacus, so I was really curious about how he would be as a director, and turns out he's pretty good. I liked him. I'll reveal my score shortly, but yeah, I liked this film. It was pretty good. And Taavi, what about you? What's your familiarity?
I didn't really know Charles Laughton, but only from Spartacus only really, and I was excited for the film because it's a film noir, and I think they're kind of interesting all around. So, I'm excited for this episode.
And I'd seen this movie twice before rewatching it again for this episode. I'm a pretty big fan of him, as a director. I'm really big about this movie. It's a shame in my opinion that he didn't direct films after this, because I think it would have been very good if he had. But this film was a commercial disappointment and a bit of a critical one as well. So because of that, there was never a follow-up from him. So yeah, let's get into it.
So yeah, this film, it seems a little bit like a cult classic. For some reason, the movie brings to mind a darker Home Alone. There's less slapstick though in this movie, obviously, but there are some elements to it. More plot and darker tones with more character development, I feel like, in the side characters instead of the main villain. I like how some of the frames in this movie bring to mind a perspective of a child, which was intentional because both there are 2 kids in this film that are pretty much protagonists. Yeah, the movie was beautifully shot. Particularly, there's a shot of a body underwater. It kind of reminded me of James Cameron, like those underwater shots of the boat in the film Titanic. My thoughts on the film: I think it's a great thriller. There's some art house elements here. I can see this being one of those critically acclaimed movies that probably should have more recognition at the time of release, but now it's been viewed as a cult classic, like I said. I don't think the main villain was completely fleshed out, unfortunately, but I love the side characters of all the townsfolk. I think it really animated the movie and gives it a good set and setting for this mostly drab film. I don't really have much else to say about it, except it's a gripping thriller, fleshed out characters on the side, and great cinematography. All in all, a cult classic. I'm giving this a 3.5 stars for my rating.
Okay, so The Night of the Hunter is next, and it's a film noir about this serial killer, Harry Powell, who seduces a widow and is after her late husband's stolen money. And when I popped this film in, I thought the beginnings, all the spoken parts were kind of pretentious, and it wasn't really the good style that I really wanted this film to start with. It kind of threw me off. I got used to the lyrical parts more later, but I think the lyrical parts were cool with all the metaphors and stuff, but perhaps they weren't truly needed. I loved the visuals and the shots and the lighting, but the beginnings of the helicopter shots or whatever, they were really rough to watch, unfortunately. Really, really shaky and stuff. But there was the underground water scene, which Clay already mentioned, and I think that looked impeccable. And it was a scene I still remember really well. And I guess the beginning jumps quite a bit, so but I guess it balances out later on. But the main thing that I loved from this film was the Robert Mitchum's character, Harry Powell. And he's like this very mean, manipulative, and I guess he's a total psycho all around. And he's surprisingly scary also. And but I guess he was annoyingly slow to me. I didn't really find a reason why he didn't catch those two little children, like the outside scenes or the basement scene or whatever. And I think the Shelley Winters' character as the widow was a great supporting role. I wish she was more in the film. I was really surprised how little role she had in the film. And the child actors to me were totally fine. They weren't great, not bad either. And I guess I'm not on Clay's side on this, but I found some of those townsfolks kind of annoying to me, and I didn't really enjoy them, sadly, especially the Villa's employer lady. But yeah, all around it's a good film, and I'm also going with the 3.5 for The Night of the Hunter. But Aidan can continue from here.
I can do my loud dissent. Sure. The Night of the Hunter is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the way it's shot. I think Lawton has such a good eye for like framing and visuals and that kind of way of telling a story. The cinematographer on this is Stanley Cortez, who is one of the best in kind of old Hollywood, I would say. And overall, I think Lawton does an amazing job with this movie of making it feel, in terms of its structure and the way it moves, unlike really most other films. There's a lot of elements that are intentionally designed to be dreamlike. There's set elements that don't really make logical sense, rooms that are too angular and too simplified, fences that aren't around any houses in the sets. And the idea is that it's presenting this kind of dream, idealized the way a child views the world within the film. And I think one of the standout scenes is when the children are going down the river and the little girl sings the song. I think that's it's such a great mixture of the visuals and the audio. I think it just has an amazing look. It has such a dark, kind of dreamy, but also kind of dreary atmosphere, I guess you could say. And besides the presentation, which I think is amazing, and it's one of the best kind of all around films, I think the best element of this, besides the direction, is Robert Mitchum's central performance as Harry Powell, who I think is just an amazing villain. I think he's one of my favorite villains of all time. Maybe even my favorite. I don't really. I agree kind of with what you said, Clay, that he's kind of he's not developed like as a three-dimensional character. He's more set up as an archetype, an archetype of evil itself. It's even on his hands. He's got the good hand, the love hand, and the hate hand, right? Which emphasizes that he's more of an archetype that represents something than he is like a three-dimensional realized character. But I think that's kind of the intention. I think the intention, and I think this film had probably a pretty big influence on a lot of slasher films, like Halloween and Friday the 13th and things like that, in terms of depicting a villain who's just a pure force of nature and is just totally evil and doesn't have, complex character motivations. He just represents this archetype of evil. And I think Mitchum does an absolutely amazing job projecting that. He has this great aura of menace, this kind of like slippery charm to him where he can turn on and off kind of the menacing aspects of his persona very easily, but you can always tell that there's something lurking under the surface. I think most of the other actors are pretty good, but I don't think they are like. I think he steals the show in all of his scenes. I think the child actors they're fine. Like child actors are usually bad, but these kids do a pretty good job with the material, in my opinion.
Surprisingly, yeah. What
Yeah,
other
they're
movies
not.
was the main villain in? Robert?
Robert Mitchum, he was big kind of film noir and 50s guy. He was in Thunder Road, Out of the Past. I think his most other iconic film villain role is as Max Cady in Cape Fear in the original one, where he also has such a menacing aura. But I think I'm not sure, honestly, between this and Cape Fear, which one I think he's better as in the villain role. I think he's amazing in but I think, yeah, just overall, he's my favorite part of this movie, and in a tie for first with kind of Laughton's direction, the cinematography, the way the story is told. Um, a lot of film noirs are like urban detective stories. There's stuff like the Maltese Falcon, The Big Sleep, that kind of thing, where it's like a private eye and that kind of thing. But this is a film noir that's kind of this rural, isolated story, which makes it kind of unique visually, but also scarier because you're more isolated and there's less places to go from this crazy, just like evil guy from Harry Powell. So yeah, overall, I think this is probably the best film of the 1950s, in my opinion. I think this is probably my top 10 favorite films of all time. I'm giving this one 5 out of 5. That's my review of Charles Laughton's singular directorial work, The Night of the Hunter.
Yeah.
Nice.
I always get nervous whenever we do this, whenever we have diverging opinions, but it's fine. I felt like you guys probably share the same sentiment whenever we did Ari Aster.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't speak for you.
it's. I mean, you guys
yeah.
got your own takes. That's it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I got Hereditary at 4 stars, so changed the ending and it's like 4.5 maybe. So I really like that.
Yeah,
least.
I mean, even though I had this at 3.5 stars, I probably would rank it on a higher end of 3.5. So, like, for example, I think this is probably better than Full Metal Jacket, which I also gave at 3.5. So, I don't know. It's a good movie.
Funnily enough, I do think it's the same rating as Full Metal Jacket. So we are in agreement on that one. We just don't agree on what that rating is.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody. Aidan, you want to go ahead and introduce what directors we're going to be doing next?
Yeah. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you go out and watch Charles Laughton's film, The Night of the Hunter. Tell us what you think about it in the comments. Coming up, we have 2 videos that will be hopefully very interesting. We have a review of the 2 films directed by Greta Gerwig. So Lady Bird and Little Women. And then we also have planned a review of the film Promising Young Woman, directed by Emerald Fennell, I think you say. I don't know. I'm pronouncing it like the vegetable.
Fennell, maybe.
Fennell,
Perhaps.
okay. Fennell,
we'll be
Fennell's
having
too
a guest on that
undignified.
one.
Yeah, but we'll have a guest then, special guest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you want to check this one out, and thank you so much for watching.
Don't worry, guys. We have a big one coming up right after that, but we're gonna keep that on the shelf a little
And
bit.
keep that under wraps. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys can't handle the truth just yet, but pretty soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
And ciao.